Who were the Druids? Ancient Celtic society was divided into several tribes across Europe. Although sharing many characteristics, the Irish Celts created a rich mythology that is uniquely their own. One commonality across Celtic folklores is a special class of men and women called Druids. The Druids were the leaders of a nature-based spirituality, the herbal healers and the bards, the keepers of the traditional myths, folklores, and Celtic traditions. Although most historical writings concerning the Celtic Druids come from classical Greek and Roman writers, such as Pliny the Elder and Julius Caesar, there is both archaeological evidence as well as the Celtic myths and folklore that reveal to us the nature of Druidry. For example, we know the Druids used the oral tradition to pass down their teachings and folklores to create the social identity of the diverse Celtic peoples. In Celtic society, there were three classes of Druid. Each of these classes or types of Druids can be found in Irish mythology. Druids can be described as healers, teachers, and wizards. This class of Druids uses magic and sorcery to help the hero or hinder the enemy. Another class of Druid is the seers, and along with the third class, the bards, the seers foretold the future. For example, from the Ulster cycle myths, the high Druid Cavar can be found teaching young Druids, advising the king, and using magic to define the future. As preservers of the ancient rites and rituals, the Irish Druids held the power to transcend the mortal world and the other world of magical beings. Druids were also keepers of the herb lore and knew how to make charms and talismans to warn off evil spirits. The power of the Druid can be illustrated by the Song of Arvajan. This Ulster warrior had a Druid advisor and teacher. Who but myself knows the assemblies of the dolmen houses upon Sleaf Mists? Who but I knows truly when the sun shall set, and what length of the sun's month? Who is it foretells the ages of the moon? Who brings forth the cattle from the house of Tethra and places them in due order? For whom will the fish of the laughing ocean make a welcome? Who orders the year from hill to hill in its progress? Invoke, then, people of the sea, invoke the poet that he may compose a spell for you. For I, the Druid, who sets out the letters of Ogham, I who part the contestants in battle, I will approach the Rosith, seeking a cunning poet, so that together we may concoct good incantations. For I am a wind of the sea. Druids practiced their nature-based spirituality in sacred groves and mounds. Although not the original builders of the stone circles, which date back to Neolithic times, the Druids adapted and used these megalithic structures for their own rites, adding them to their collection of sacred sites. Many of these sites are used today and still hold a special place in the hearts of the people. The sacred places of the Irish Celtic Druids are still visible. Tara, with the Fort of Kings, and the circular burial mounds of Newgrange are important sites in Ireland, even to today. Sacred trees and groves are seen as well. Druids were akin to nature, often giving advice concerning nature. For example, Druid advice to Fergus Maglida in one Irish myth explains the purpose of each type of tree. Burn not the sweet apple tree of drooping branches of the white blossoms, to whose gracious head each man puts forth his hand. Burn not the noble willow, the unfailing ornament of poem. Bees drink from its blossoms, all delight in the graceful tint. The delicate airy tree of the Druids, the rowan with its berries, this burn. But avoid the weak tree, burn not the slender hazel. The ash tree of the blackbuds, burn not. Timber that speeds the wheel, that yields the rider his switch. The Ashton spear is a scale beam of battle. Folklore is never really lost. Mythical elements permeate our social consciousness. For example, Beltane, the day of fertility, is known as May Day. And Sarin, the end of summer and the day to honor the dead, has evolved into Halloween. Medieval sources are untrustworthy for factual evidence about ancient Ireland and the Druid class. As Christianity spread across Europe, the Druids were persecuted and the myths were polluted. It was only until during the Renaissance that a search began for the indigenous cultures and myths of Europe prior to Christianity. And so mythical tidbits were able to survive, to revitalize into the Neo-Druid movement of today. By the time of the Enlightenment period, figures such as John Toland founded Neo-Druid orders in Britain. Folklorists in the 19th and early 20th centuries advocated that ancient Celtic spirituality could be found in the folk practices and the superstitions of ordinary Irish country people. Therefore, folk memories have preserved Druid knowledge and teachings through the minds, the myths, and the tales of the Irish people today. Today, modern Druids can apply the mythical and folk tidbits that have survived into a personal path of Druiding. They seek a spiritual journey to reconnect with the sacred places and nature. The movement of neo-pagan rituals today, such as Druiding, illustrate the unconscious need of man to find inner peace, balance, and the inspiration that only the beauty of nature can bring.